Family presence in long-term care has really gone for decades as an unacknowledged contribution to people that are living in long-term care. People move in and they become a resident, and they still depend on and look forward to and rely on the people in their lives from before they lived in long-term care. And it was really during the pandemic that there became formal acknowledgement of the contribution of family members and friends and just how important those people are to the people who live in long-term care.
In March of 2020, life did change, and the fear of COVID caused people to tighten up and cause restrictions and prevent families from coming in. And that came from a good place to protect loved ones, but it did not take long to see that we were going about this the wrong way and something had to change. So designated care partners, or DCPs as we call them here at Bruyere, are also called essential care partners, ECPs, and other organizations. And what they are family members, friends, anyone the resident feels comfortable to have come in and be part of their care team to provide different aspects of their care. The difference between a visitor and a DCP or essential care partner role comes down to many things, one being training. So they're learning about the rules, learning how to do things safely. It gives them a sense of responsibility, they have a sense of accountability, and they're members of the team.
They are a valuable member of the team. That by becoming a DCP or a designated care partner, you end up being not just a visitor. It doesn't mean that you have to come in and dress and bathe and all those cares, but your level of comfort and where you would like to have your visit begin and end, we can do that with the DCP program.
Essential care partners are essential because they are the connection between the resident and the support team that's here. It's an advocate, it's a loved one, it's someone who knows the resident best.
It's important to make the DCPs really feel part of the team because, one, it all comes down to the resident, and they are the best advocate for the resident. There's also the fact that they become comfortable to know to whom they can talk to when the residents need something. That familiarity, those connections helps them to be better advocates for the resident. You always see the joy in their face for them to actually be granted that access. For example, the couples that have been together the longest, they haven't been away from their loved one for the last 40 years they've been together. Navigating all that stuff, even when it's very onerous, they have to get testing to come into the residence, but they understand that it all comes down to protecting their loved one, but also to guaranteeing that continued connection with their loved ones.
I believe firmly that the DCP program has really reduced the isolation effects that residents have experienced. When you have a DCP bring their family out to a program that we're running, it totally enhances the experience of that resident because they've been able to get them out of their rooms and get them involved in programs and getting outside, and it just excites them to come out and be involved. We like to see that. I think you also had to be very aware of the emotional side of some of our DCPs were spouses who were alone. It was extremely important for many of our spouses that this visiting was as important for them as it was for our residents as well.
Before the pandemic, there was certainly anecdotal evidence, and there was some scientific evidence that the role played by family members and close friends for residents in long-term care was important, but it had not been a major focus of research at that point. Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care introduced us to early adopters of an intervention that was intended to allow family members and essential care partners into the homes during times of outbreak. There are a number of key findings from our research. The first is the very simple but important finding that essential care partners are essential. When essential care partners are barred from the home, there are declines in well-being. When they're allowed back in, things improve. The most dramatic example of this that we found had to do with people living with dementia, people living with Alzheimer's in long-term care homes.
I don't think any of us knew the extent of the importance until the pandemic. For someone who had Alzheimer's disease or anyone with dementia, he's already isolated, isn't he, in his own little cocoon. He couldn't do puzzles or games, wouldn't be interested at all in FaceTime or things like that. until that magic moment when we could get together because of the DCP program. And that was all the difference in the world, because I could rub his shoulder and touch his arm. You could just see his whole body relax and know that I'm right there, and my voice was there. It's just the magic of connection, and it was pure joy. Anyone taking on a designated care role should certainly be prepared to make a real commitment to it. It's important to want to be in and to come regularly and to keep the connection going. It's also important to know how much you'll receive yourself from the experience, continuing your memories, and you'll be surprised how much you get back yourself. Not only with the resident that you care so much about and you're visiting, but others who are there too, if you're able to just let them know that you see them and you're interested in their welfare. It's a very important role. It has, I think, life-changing significance for long-term care.
Care falls into a couple of different categories. The basic category is what some people refer to as psychosocial care. It's not transactional care where you deliver a care bundle like a set of medication. It's relational that occurs through the unfolding of the relationship, the interaction, and that is the kind of care that people exhibit toward each other when they simply spend time together. But we also learned that a great many essential care partners go beyond this, not all do, and provide some elements of things like personal grooming, being with a person at mealtime, taking them into maybe a garden-like setting. It's all of these things that reminds them of pleasant times during their life.
The family is involved in a lot of the activities that we do, and they can help if they wish in exercising and things like that. And it's so much easier. It really is.
It lifts the morale of the residents and the staff and myself. Just being there is pretty much as important as anything. You look forward to your days with them. It's a benefit all around. The more company and the more convenient it is to come in through the DCP program, the better it'll be for whoever your loved one is that's in the home as a resident.
Once-in-a-lifetime moments won't be lost the way they have been for many people. One of the hardest things with the pandemic and restricting people was restricting people at a time as sacred as end of life, the time that they deserve to have with their loved one. Thankfully, I witnessed a resident's 100th birthday, and without the DCP program, she would not have been able to celebrate with her family members. If there was anything I wanted anyone to know about the DCP program, is that it is a win-win. The time given to the training is going to be given right back in that time spent with loved ones. For anyone who is reluctant to consider being a DCP, with the training and support from the team, they will learn very quickly that they are part of the team. And that is essentially what it's about, that they're not working alone, that they're not there to replace staff, they're working with the staff to provide the best care possible for their loved one.
This role of essential care partner needs to have some formality about it. It needs to be seen as a role within the long-term care setting, just as the personal support worker has a role or the registered nurse has a role. This is a role that goes above and beyond that of a visitor to someone in a long-term care home.
Our designated care partner program, which was born out of an answer to restrictive visiting, has really become that formal acknowledgement. And I see an opportunity for us to take that into the future so that it isn't just about how do we have people safely visiting during an outbreak, but how do we have residents, family members, and friends as part of the care team for the time that they live in long-term care. Essential caregivers or designated care partners, and there's different names, but it's all this formal acknowledgement of someone that the resident designates from outside the community as part of their care team. Care partners, residents, team members, which is our words for staff, they all play a role in developing our programs and our policies, and we're always looking at opportunities to include the DCPs in the day-to-day care and planning for the experience of people who live here. And that program and opportunity needs to be discussed from the moment someone moves in or is looking at moving in. I love how engaged family members and friends are in our care communities and how that has created truly a community in each of our long-term care homes. Family presence and friend presence in the home makes a place a community and a home, not just a long-term care facility. It's a place where people live, it's a place to find joy, it's a place that we want to give people a life worth living.